Oh, now we can be heard. Hi, everybody. Let me start again. My name is Garland Thompson. I'm your MC and your host for today's happenings. I'd like to welcome you to the 2021 Poetry Out Loud competition for Monterey County. My name is Garland Thompson. I'm your host. And let me tell you a little story here. Poetry Out Loud first came to Monterey County in late 2007 when I found myself driving home from a class I'd been teaching, a poetry class at a lovely charter school in Spreckles. As was my habit, I turned on NPR and I was listening to the news as I was driving home, and up came a story about this incredible thing, this program called Poetry Out Loud. It's a national recitation contest. I'd never heard of such a thing before. It was just a couple of years old, so it was still pretty new. And they were talking about their upcoming competitions in Washington, D.C. Well, I listened to the whole story. I got what it was immediately. I pulled over like about 5 minutes later, and I got on the phone and I called Paulette Lynch, who was at the time executive director of the Arts Council for Monterey County. I got her on the phone just by happenstance. I figured I was going to get the answering machine, but she picked up, and I started talking to her, and literally, before I even could finish telling her about the whole thing, she was telling me, yes, let's do it, we're in. So that began Poetry Out Loud's journey here in Monterey County. That following year, in 2008, we had our first competition, and we sent our first Monterey County champion to the California State Finals. Basically, how it works, and we'll get into a little bit more detail, but basically it starts with high school kids competing in their schools, in their classrooms, and it goes all the way up to a national competition where winners from each state are sent to Washington, D.C., and compete on a national stage for a major prize of, I believe it's $20,000 in cash towards a college scholarship. Now, this is a partnership of the National Endowment of the Arts, the Poetry Foundation, and the California Arts Council, including locally the Arts Council for Monterey County. Now, Poetry Out Loud, as I said, it's a national arts education program that encourages the study of great poetry by offering free educational materials, as well as a dynamic recitation competition for high school students across the country, which is what we are a part of here today. Now, as I said before, the program starts in the classroom, at the school level, or at the local level with an area organization. This is, by the way, open to all high school students in the county, including homeschoolers, so they can get in on the action as well. They then, from the county, advance to, if they win at the county level, they advance to the state competition, which happens in Sacramento. An all-expense paid trip is given to them to go to Sacramento to be in the competition. They're put up in a wonderful hotel. They get to meet legislators and be a part of the competition, which is hosted on the legislative floor of the California State Legislature. It's quite an experience. If they win there at the state level, then they get, again, an all-expenses paid trip to Washington, D.C., where they will join all other 49 state winners to compete in the finals, of the National Poetry Out Loud Championship. So it's quite a journey that they go through. The program, it takes about 2 or 3 weeks worth of study. It's broken up very easily to be done in about 20 minutes per classroom period. So it's meant to slot into students' existing work very easily. And they are taken on a journey, if you will, through poetry. Now, winners this year, the state and national competitions are online, so we are joining them in that. And awards and placements are determined solely by the judges' scores based on the Poetry Out Loud evaluation criteria. There's evaluation criteria that the National Endowment of the Arts has so lovingly made available to everyone, and you can find that at poetryoutloud.org. Now, prizes. Let's talk about the prizes. I'm always asked, what are the prizes? Well, I mentioned one of the prizes earlier, but it looks like I actually kind of realized I'm talking with some old information, because at the national level, a total of $50,000, oh no, I was correct, a total of $50,000 in awards and school stipends will be given at the Poetry Out Loud National Finals. Now, this does include the $20,000 award for National Champion, which I mentioned earlier, $10,000 for second place, $5,000 for third place, and $1,000 for fourth through ninth places. Now, the schools of each of the top 9 finalists receive $500 for the purchase of poetry materials. So the schools benefit from this as well. Not just the students competing, but other students in the school benefit as well from these poetry acquisitions. There will be one honorable mention in each of 3 national semifinals competitions. Now, those students will not advance to the finals, but will each receive a $1,000 cash award plus a $500 school stipend. Now, at the state level, each winner at the state level will receive $200, and their school will receive $500 for poetry materials. One runner-up in each state will receive $100. Their school will receive $200 for the purchase of poetry materials. So as you can see, Poetry Out Loud has a very positive impact on schools. It helps to build their libraries, helps to build literacy schools, helps to build community. It forges stronger connections between teachers and students as they work together to go through the Poetry Out Loud process of analyzing the poetry and preparing for a competition. And it also brings together students who may not have otherwise formed connections. Folks, I can tell you this from personal experience. I've seen this year in and year out. Kids who may have never, ever have met each other under any other circumstances get to meet and form friendships and relationships in some cases that can go on to last a lifetime. Be very fruitful indeed. Now, what I'd like to do now that we've gotten through all of that business here, what I'd like to get through now is I'd like to bring up our runner-ups. We're going to do this. We've got runner-ups that are come up and going to perform for us first. So these were all the runner-ups in the high school competitions for all the schools that are competing today. And then we will be getting into the finals a little bit later on. So right now, let's see here. Let's go ahead and welcome up our runner-up, our first runner-up. We're going to do this in 2 rounds. Our first runner-up is Maria Ruiz Barajas of Alisal High School. Now, Maria Ruiz is a 17-year-old Latina attending Alisal High. She's been playing volleyball for 7 years. She's a very creative person who loves to do art. She's also, as this is in her own words, also an optimistic person, and she hopes to pursue a career in early childhood development and wants to travel to Japan and the UK one day. Good places to want to go see. Please welcome her to our virtual stage, Maria Ruiz Barajas.
Hello. Is my audio good? Yes. Okay. Bent to the Earth by Blas Manuel de Luna. They had hit Ruben with the high beams, had blinded him, so the van he was driving, full of Mexicans going to pick tomatoes, would have to stop. Ruben spun the van into an irrigation ditch, spun the 5-year-old me awake to immigration officers. Their batons already out, already looking for the soft spots on the body. To my mother, being handcuffed and dragged to a van. To my father, trying to show them our green cards. They let us go. But Alvaro was going back. So was his brother Fernando. So was their sister Sonia. Their mother did not escape. And so was going back. Their father was somewhere in the field and was free. There were no great truths revealed to me then, no wisdom given to me by anyone. I was a child who had seen what a piece of polished wood could do to a face, who had seen his father about to lose the one he loved, who lost some friends who would never return, who later that morning bent to the earth and went to work. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Giselle Perez, and today I'll be reciting Oranges by Ruiz and Kelly.
Shit. Ah.
I'll choose for myself next time, who I'll reach out and take as mine. In the way I might stand at a fruit stall, having decided to ignore the apples, the mangoes, and the kiwis, but hold my hands above a pile of oranges as if it were to warm my skin before a fire. Not only have I chosen oranges, but I'll choose which orange. I'll test a few for firmness, scrape some rind off with my fingernail so that a citrus scent will linger there all day. I won't be happy with the first one I pick, but we'll try different ones until I know you. How will I know you? You'll feel warm between my palms, and I'll cup you like a handful of holy water. A vision will come to me of your exotic glands, the sun you sold under, the tree you grew from. A drift of white blossoms from the orange tree will settle in my hair, and I'll know. This is how I'll choose you, by feeling you, smelling you, by slipping you into my coat. Maybe then I'll climb the hill, look down on the town we live in, with the sunlight on my face and a miniature sun burning a hole in my pocket. Thirsty, I'll suck the juice from you. When I walk away, I'll leave behind a trail of lamp bright rind. Thank you.
Thank you, Giselle. Giselle Perez, Gonzalez High School. And now we have a video submission from Pacific Grove High School. We're going to hear from their runner-up, Laurel Bowen. First stepping foot on stage at the age of 4, Laurel Lane Bowen has been immersed in the arts. The majority of her time is spent acting and singing, but when she's not performing, she's dedicated to community service, civic engagement, activism, and creative writing. Laurel plans to pursue a degree in communication after graduating from PG High School. Please welcome Laurel Bowen.
Hello, my name is Laurel Lane Bowen, and I will be reciting Siren Song by Margaret Atwood. This is the one song everyone would like to learn. The song that is irresistible. The song that forces men to leap overboard in squadrons, even though they see the beach skulls. The song nobody knows, because anyone who has heard it is dead, and the others can't remember. Shall I tell you the secret? And if I do, will you get me out of this bird suit? I don't enjoy it here, squatting on this island, looking picturesque and mythical, with these two feathery maniacs. I don't enjoy singing this trio, fatal and valuable. I will tell the secret to you, only to you. Come closer. This song is a cry for help. Help me. Only you can. You are unique. At last. Alas, it is a boring song, but it works every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurel Bowen. Next up, we're going to hear from Rancho San Juan High School. We've got Zihan Jing. She is a sophomore at Rancho San Juan High School. She was born and raised in China until 9 years old, then came to America. Zihan really enjoys reading poetry because of the imagination and experiences you can find in poems. Zihan hopes to have their poems published one day. Please welcome Zihan Jing.
Hi, my name is Zihan Jing, and I'll be reciting After the Disaster by Abigail Judge. New York City, 2001. One night, not long after the disaster, as our train was passing Astor, the car door opened with a shudder and a girl came flying down the aisle. Hair that looked to be all feathers and a half-moon smile, making open air of our small car. The crowd ignored her, or they muttered, "Hey, excuse me," as they passed her. When the train had paused at Rector, the specter crowed, "Excuse me," swiftly turned and ran back up the corridor, then stopped for me. We dove under the river. She took my head between her fingers, squeezing till the birds began to stir, and then, from out my eyes and ears, a flock came forth. I couldn't think, or hear, or breathe, or see within the feather world, so silently I thanked her. Such things were common after the disaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Zihan. Zihan Jung. My apologies, Zihan, for my mispronunciation earlier. Coming up next, our next runner-up, we've got, coming to us from Soledad High School, we've got Carla Vasquez. Now, Carla is a 17-year-old webtoon writer, bookworm, and aspires to be part of the STEM world. She's a Peruvian American who's trying to be trilingual instead of bilingual. Like that. That's good. Please welcome up Carla Vasquez.
Vasquez, and I'll be reciting the poem titled Hope is a Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings a tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla Vasquez, Soledad High School. Our next runner-up will be Juliette Oliver of York School. Juliette is a junior at York School with a passion for science and a love of literature. Her effortlessly crazy hair echoes her many varied interests, unpredictable, unconventional, and constantly evolving. Her academic and extracurricular interests range from mathematics to classics. She adores the original Star Trek, girl from my heart, almost as much as spending time outdoors and feels at home anywhere with a book and enough light to read by. Please welcome Juliette Oliver.
Flaxman by Margaret Fuller. We deemed the secret lost, the spirit gone, which spake in Greek simplicity of thought, and in the forms of gods and heroes wrought eternal beauty from the sculptured stone. A higher charm than modern culture won with all the wealth of metaphysic lore, gifted to analyze, dissect, explore. A many-colored light flows from one sun. Art neath its beams a motley thread has spun. The prism modifies a perfect day, but thou hast known such mediums to shun, and cast once more on life a pure white ray. Absorbed in the creations of thy mind, forgetting daily self, my truest self I find. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliette Oliver. That concludes round one. Now let's start round two of our runner-ups. By the way, these poems are all unjudged as they were runners-up, and the function of the runner-up is to be able to have a backup for the finalists, for the winners, in case, for God forbid, some reason they cannot make the competitions. Starting off round two, we've got coming up to us from Alisal High School, Maria Ruiz Barajas. Once again, please, let's welcome her to the stage.
Once the World Was Perfect by Joy Harjo. Once the world was perfect, and we were happy in that world. Then we took it for granted. Discontent began a small rumble in the earthly mind. Then doubt pushed through with its spiked head, and once doubt ruptured the web, all manner of demon thoughts jumped through. We destroyed the world we had been given for inspiration, for life. Each stone of jealousy, each stone of fear, greed, envy, and hatred put out that light. No one was without a stone in his or her hand. There we were, right back where we had started. We were bumping into each other in the dark. And now we had no place to live, since we didn't know how to live with each other. Then one of the stumbling ones took pity on another and shared a blanket. A spark of kindness made a light. The light made an opening in the darkness. Everyone worked together to make a ladder. A wind clan person climbed out first into the next world. And then the other clans, the children of those clans, their children and their children, all the way through time. To now, into this morning light, to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria Ruiz. Coming up next, once again, Giselle Perez of Gonzalez High School.
The Kiss by Robert Graves. Are you shaken? Are you stirred by a whisper of love? Spellbound to a word, does time cease to move? Till her calm gray eye expands to the sky, and the clouds of her hair like storms go by? Then the lips that you have kissed turn to frost and fire, and a white steaming mist obscures desire. So back to the birth, fade water, air, earth. And the first power moves over void and dearth. Is that love? No, but death. A passion, a shout, the deepened breath. The breath roaring out, and once that is flown, you must lie alone. Without hope, without life, poor flesh, sad bone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Giselle Perez. Let's bring up our next runner-up. Once again, from Pacific Grove High School. Please welcome Laurel Bowen.
My name is Laurel Bowen, and I will be reciting What Women Are Made Of by Bianca Lynn Spriggs. There are many kinds of open. Audre Lorde. We are all ventricle, spine, lung, larynx, and gut. Clavicle and nape, what lies forked in an open palm. We are follicle and temple. We are ankle, arch, sole. Core and rib, pelvis and root and tongue. We are wishbone and gland and molar and lobe. We are hippocampus and exposed nerve and cornea. Areola, pigment, melanin and nails. Varicose, cellulite, divining rod, sinew and tissue, saliva and silt. We are blood and salt. clay and aquifer. We are breath and flame and stratosphere, palimpsest and bibelot and cloisonne fine lines, marigold, hydrangea and dimple, nightlight, satellite and stubble. We are pinnacle, plummet, dark circles and dark matter, a constellation of freckles and specters and miracles and lashes, both bent and erect. We are all give and give back. We're volta and girder. Make an incision in our nectary and painted ladies sail forth, riding the back of a warm wind, plumed with love and things like love. Crack us down to the marrow, and you may find us full of cicada husks and sand dollars and salted maple taffy, weary of welding together our daydreams. All sweet tea, razor blades, carbon, and patchwork quilts of good God and Lord have mercy. Our hands remember how to turn the earth before we do. Our intestinal fortitude, cumulonimbus streaked with saffron light. Our foundation, not in our limbs or hips. This comes first as an amen, a hallelujah, a suckling swaddled psalm sung at the cosmos' breast. You want to know what women are made of? Open wide and find out. Thank you.
Laurel Bowen, Pacific Grove High School. Thank you, Laurel. Coming up next, please welcome to the stage once again, Zihan Jing of Rancho San Juan High School.
I Felt a Funeral in My Brain by Emily Dickinson. I felt a funeral in my brain, and mourners to and fro kept treading, till it seemed that sense was breaking through. And when they all were seated, a service like a drum kept beating, till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box, creak across my soul with those same boots of lead again. The space began to toll, as all the heavens were a bell, and being but an ear, and I, in silence, some strange race, wrecked, solitary, here. And then a plank and reason broke, and I dropped down, and hit a world with every plunge, and finished knowing then. Thank you.
Thank you, Zihan Jing. Thank you very much. And let's bring up our next to the last runner-up. Once again, let's hear from Carla Vasquez from Soledad High School.
The Poet's Light But Lamps by Emily Dickinson. The poet's light, but lamps themselves go out. The wicks they stimulate, if vital light, and here as do the suns. Each age a lens, disseminating their circumference. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla Vasquez, Soledad High School. And now for our final runner-up, please welcome back to the stage once again from York School, Juliette York.
Anjali 35 by Rabindranath Tagore. Where the mind is without fear, and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, For the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way in the dreary desert sands of dead habit. For the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country await. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliette Oliver of York School. And ladies and gentlemen out there in virtual world, please give a big round of applause, throw something in the chat room, and show some love for these wonderful, wonderful young poets and performers, all in the runners-up. Now, that's just the runners-up. Imagine what you're about to get with the finalists. Before we get on with that, though, we've got a couple of video poem submissions for you. And it looks like, yes, we do have, and I'll tell you about them right now. The first one will be Music is My Escape by Janelle Aubry Jelly, and she is a senior at Soledad High School, followed by World of Water by Carla Vasquez, who you just heard from. So these are two visual poem submissions while we take a little intermission here, and then we'll be back to talk about our judges and introduce you to our panel as we move on towards our competition. Please enjoy these videos.
Music is my escape. It's hard to muster up all of the courage for what I want to say, who I need to call, so what I do is play. I play these melodies, I write these poems, for they are like my remedies, a place to go and roam. The most effective words come from a beat I hear, or the sounds of birds in the sky when they are near. Some see a young girl, not knowing what she's doing, but they don't see the twirl, and my soul spins heart swooning. Don't mistake me as a nothing. I see it so clearly, always learning of something. The important, they see me dearly. Music is my escape. I don't just listen, I engage, I reminisce, I relate, I miss, I create. With the need to be uplifted, music is my escape. Not every second am I the gifted, but a soul with a goal, a story to make.
World of water. Look, how clear as a crystal it can be, the purest sight from tourist-impressed eyes. However, others see distinctive scenes. Observant minds would open your own sight. Celestial drops refresh weary souls. The gentle movement water makes to one. Get lost in thought and shortly leave this world, to be submerged beneath a world of calm. But sadly, guilt within hides all of you, where seas become tsunamis full of fright, the stormy seas that swallow guests and crew. The world now struggles for you day and night. So precious, needed, scarce compound of life, surprises us in just amounts of time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Carla Vasquez was that last piece, World of Water, and that is a piece by Carla. And then prior to that, Music is My Escape by Janelle Aubry Jelly. Wonderful, wonderful work. Thank you for those video submissions. Now it's time to introduce our judges. We've got a wonderful judging panel here. We work very hard to bring you the finest judges we can find in Monterey County, so we're very proud of them. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Holly Byers Ochoa is a retired English teacher, historian, writer, and editor. She currently represents the CSUMB President's Office as a volunteer on several campus committees and serves on the boards of 2 community nonprofits, including as treasurer of the Arts Council for Monterey County. Holly is also an avid traveler, a museum goer, and an amateur photographer. Thank you so much for being with us, Holly. Always a pleasure to see you. Eric Mora is a policy analyst at the office of Supervisor Wendy Root Askew. She represents Monterey County District 4, and he is a Master of Public Administration, that's MPA for all you letter lovers out there, candidate at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies. Eric has served on the board of the Arts Council for Monterey County since 2017 and became board secretary in 2020. In his previous role as marketing and community engagement coordinator for the National Steinbeck Center, Eric organized county-wide community reading projects with support from the National Endowment for the Arts Big Read program, including a reading project in 2017 centered on poet Claudia Rankin's award-winning collection, Citizen, An American Lyric. More recently, Eric was awarded the 2021 California Arts Council Administrators of Color Fellowship in recognition of his work in the arts. Eric, it's always a pleasure to see you and have you. Thank you for being with us today. Susan Breen is a previous board chair for the board of directors of the Arts Council for Monterey County. Her areas of involvement include the professional artists in the schools program, Arts Education Summit, the Arts for MC Gives high school scholarship program, the local emerging artist program, and others. Susan is the owner and president of Breen Consulting and believes that to be a judge for Poetry Out Loud is quite an honor and responsibility. Susan, again, always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to have you. Is there any nonprofit thing you don't do? My God, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Ernesto Altamirano comes from the world of broadcast media, but his passion has always been the arts. He became an award-winning nationally published poet at 18, but it took him 20 years to launch his passion project, an arts and culture website for bilingual Latinos. Ernesto has had the opportunity to sit down with various entertainment luminaries such as Jay Leno and has held exclusive interviews with world-renowned artists, including Andre Rieu, the #1 international classical artist in America. Welcome, Ernesto. Once again, a pleasure to see you, and we'll make sure that folks know what your website address is so they can go check out the great work that you're doing. That, ladies and gentlemen, is our judging panel for the 2021 Poetry Out Loud competitions here in Monterey County. Give them a lot of love in the chat room, send them some likes and some hearts and some applauses, and let them know that you're out there feeling them, and thank them for doing their job here for Monterey County. Now, time to welcome our finalists for the judging portion. Now, the award amounts today are as follows. Third place will receive $50. Second place will receive $100. And first place will walk away with $150 today. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's bring up our very first finalist. Please welcome from Alisal High School, Ilana Mendez. Ilana is from Salinas, California, and a freshman from Alisal High School. She enjoys playing basketball, baking, reading, and spending time with her family and friends. Her biggest influence is her mother. One thing she gave her was her grit in seeing things all the way through. Exactly what you need to be a Poetry Out Loud champion. Please welcome Ilana Mendez.
Night Nurse by Michael Earl Craig. This night nurse is different. She walks into my room and does not turn the light on. She thinks I of surfaces, lines and planes mostly. The night nurse puts a foot up on the radiator and braces her clipboard on her knee as she appears to take down a few notes. I imagine she is working on a sonnet and that her ankle looks like polished walnut. You imagine she is working on a crossword and that her feet are killing her. The slightest slit is like an old gate at a Japanese tea garden at night in the rain that is supposed to be closed, that is supposed to be locked. Someone has locked up poorly, you'd say, incorrectly, but no one has asked. You. Thank you.
Ilana Mendez of Alisal High School. Thank you, Ilana. Now, we had a bit of a technical difficulty there, so Ilana, don't go far. We'd like to ask Ilana if she's willing to do the poem once again after all the other finalists have gone in this round, so she can have the benefit of having a full read through with no technical difficulties. Ilana, can we have that? We'll reach out to Ilana, and I believe that's what we'll do. So, Ilana, get ready. We'll hear from you again to read this poem. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and move on to our next finalist. Please welcome from Gonzales High School, Elizabeth Sanchez. She is a senior at Gonzales High School, and according to her, over the years, I have grown to admire and love poetry to the point where I began writing my own. So being chosen as a finalist feels unreal. Indeed, I believe it must. Please welcome Elizabeth Sanchez, Gonzales High School.
My partner wants me to write them a poem about Sheryl Crow by Caleb Ray Caningeli. But all I want to do is marry them on a beach that refuses to take itself too seriously. So much of our lives has been serious. Over time, I've learned that love is most astonishing when it persists after learning where we come from. When I bring my partner to my childhood home, it is all bullets and needles and trash bags held at arm's length. It is my estranged father's damp bed of cardboard and cigar boxes filled with gauze and tarnished spoons. It is hard to clean a home, but it is harder to clean the memory of it. When I was young, my father would light lavender candles and shoot up. Now, my partner and I light a fire that will burn all traces of the family that lived here. Black plastic smoke curdles up and loose bullets discharge in the flames. My partner holds my hand as gunfire rings through the birch trees. Though this is almost beautiful, it is not. And if I'm being honest, my partner and I spend most of our time on Earth feeding one another citrus fruits and enough strength to go on. Every morning I pack them half a grapefruit and some sugar, and they tell me it's just sweet enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth Sanchez, Gonzales High School. Let's bring up our next finalist here in round one. Please welcome from Pacific Grove High School, Claire Rogerman. Claire is a senior at Pacific Grove High. She enjoys singing and baking in her free time. Claire has discovered poetry as a way to cope with her stutter and intends to further this passion in college. It's very amazing because our National Youth Poet Laureate, Amanda Gorman, who performed at the inauguration, has used poetry to deal with the exact same thing. You're in good company. Please welcome Claire Rogerman.
Blade Unplugged by Tim Seibles. It's true. I almost never smile. But that doesn't mean I'm not in love. My heart is that black violin played slowly. You know that moment late in the solo where the voice is so pure, you feel the blood in it, the wound between rage and complete surrender. That's where I'm smiling. You just can't see it. The sound bleeding perfectly inside me. The first time I killed a vampire, I was sad. I mean, we were almost family. But that's so many lives ago. I believe in the cry that cuts into the melody. The strings calling back the forgotten world. When I think of the madness that has made me, and the midnight I walk inside all day long, when I think of that one note that breaks what's left of what's human in me, man, I love everything. Thank you.
Claire Rogerman, Pacific Grove High School. Thank you, Claire. Next, we have a video submission from Martin Garcia of Rancho San Juan High School. Martin is a student there at Rancho San Juan, and in his words, he says, "I love to try new things and challenge myself. I'm also funny and caring." Please enjoy this video submission. Martin Garcia.
Hello, my name is Martin Garcia, and I'll be presenting a poem called Diameter by Michelle Y. Burke. You love your friend, so you fly across the country to see her. Your friend is grieving. When you look at her, you see that something's missing. You look again, she seems all there. Reading glasses, sarcasm, leather pumps. What did you expect? Ruins? Demeter without arms in a British museum? Your friend believes there is more pain than beauty in the world. When Persephone was taken, Demeter downed the world for half the year. The other half remained warm and bountiful. Greek slow symmetry. On the plane, the man next to you read a geometry book. The lesson on finding the circumference of a circle. On circumference, you can calculate the way around if you know the way across. You try across with your friend, you try around. I don't believe in the afterlife, she said. But after Kay died, I thought I might go after her. In case I'm wrong, in case she's somewhere, waiting. Thank you.
Martin Garcia, Rancho San Juan High School. Thank you, Martin. Coming up next, from Soledad High School, Tawny Hong. Now, Tawny is a proud Vietnamese American who has come to accept herself with the help of art. She is a senior from Soledad High School who has embraced being creative and is trying to keep that in her school. She's in AP Studio Art 2D and loves every second of taking photos for her concentration. Tani is also an editor of her school's literary magazine, which is called Forgotten in the Fields, and I've seen the work they've been doing there. Very good work with that magazine. Please welcome to our virtual stage, Tani Hong.
Hi. Today I'm going to be reciting Self-Help by Michael Ryan. What kind of delusion are you under? The laffy hitch has knocked you flat. You see the lightning, but not the thunder. What God has joined, let no man put asunder. Did God know you marry a rat? What kind of delusion are you under? His online persona simply stunned her as it did you when you started to chat. You see the lightning, but not the thunder. To the victors I go to plunder, you should crown them with a baseball bat. What kind of delusion are you under? The kind that causes blunder after blunder? Is there any other kind than that? You see the lightning, but not the thunder. And for 1 second, the world's a wonder. Just keep it thrilling under your hat. What kind of delusion are you under? You see the lightning, but not the thunder. Thank you.
Tani Hong, Soledad School. Thank you, Tani. Please welcome now to our virtual stage. Let's say hello to Sherry Wu of York School. Sherry is a junior at York who, despite being an international student with language barriers, found herself intrigued by American literature. Aside from reading poems and novels and looking forward to English class, she also spends her time swimming in the ocean of economics. She deeply appreciates the transfer of monetary wealth and delivery of spiritual treasures. Who says they have to be exclusive of each other, right? Please welcome Sherry Wu of York School.
Anthem for Doomed Youth. What passing bells for these who die as cattle? Only the monstrous anger of the guns. Only the stuttering rifle's rapid rattle can patter out their hasty orisons. No mockeries now for them. No prayers, nor bells, nor any voice of mourning save the choirs. The shrill, demented choirs of wailing shells and bugles calling for them from sad shires. What candles may be held to speed them all? Not in the hands of boys, but in their eyes shall shine the holy glimmers of goodbyes. The pallor of girls' brows shall be their pall. Their flowers, the tenderness of patient minds, and each slow dusk, a drawing down of blinds. Thank you.
Sherry Wu of York School. Thank you, Sherry. And now, as promised, we're going to give our first poet of this round another chance to recite her poem. We had some technical difficulties with the audio, and to be fair, we'd like to give her another shot. So please welcome once again from Alisal High School, Ilana Mendez.
Night Nurse by Michael Earl Craig. This night nurse is different. She walks into my room and does not turn the light on. She thinks I am sleeping. I have just barely opened my left eye. I'm looking through the slightest slit as moonlight exposes the room for what it really is. A collection of surfaces, lines and planes, mostly. The night nurse puts a foot up on the radiator and braces her clipboard on her knee as she appears to take down a few notes. I imagine she is working on a sonnet and that her ankle looks like polished walnut. You imagine she is working on a crossword and that her feet are killing her. The slightest slit is like an old gate at a Japanese tea garden at night in the rain that is supposed to be closed, that is supposed to be locked. Someone has locked up poorly, you'd say, incorrectly, but no one has asked. You. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilana. Ilana Mendez, Alisal High School. Thank you. We'll be hearing from her again in the next round, and thank you for redoing your poem for us. Now, that is the conclusion of round one. Now we get to start on round two. Because Ilana just went, that will be the position she will be performing in, so you'll be hearing from her at the end of this round. Let's bring up our next finalist our first finalist for round two. Please say hello to Elizabeth Sanchez from Gonzalez High School.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Across the Street by Austin Segrest. I ran across the street. I didn't know any better. Ran out in the street. I didn't know no better. I just knew a woman was there, though I'd never met her. She sat me in her parlor, distracted me with trinkets, milky glass birds and fish, distracting trinkets. She said my mother would be fine, but did she think it? The world was a blur of crystal wings and fins. My tears were cast in crystal wings and fins. She was the first of many lady friends. The tree shadows shortened. She brought me a drink of water. Morning matured. She brought me a glass of water. I drank it so fast. She went and brought another. I kept looking out the window. She didn't ask me what for. I watched out that window. She didn't ask what for. The seconds broke off and lay there on the floor. I imagined my mother's route as far as I could. Her long morning walk followed as far as I could. Nothing I could do would do any good. Suffer the little children and forbid them not. Christ said, suffer the little children and forbid them not. Said, love thy neighbor. Sometimes she's all you got. Thank you.
Elizabeth Sanchez, Gonzalez High School. Thank you, Elizabeth. Let's bring up our next finalist. Please welcome to the stage one more time, Claire Rogerman, Pacific Grove High School.
Emily Dickinson at the Poetry Slam by Dan Vera. I will tell you why she rarely ventured from her house. It happened like this. One day she took the train to Boston, made her way to the darkened room, put her name down in cursive script, and waited her turn. When they read her name aloud, she made her way to the stage, straightened the papers in her hands, pages and envelopes, the backs of grocery bills. She closed her eyes for a minute, took a breath, and began. From her mouth, perfect words exploded, intact formulas of light and darkness. She dared to rhyme with words like cochineal and describe the skies like diadem. Obscurely worded incantations filled the room with an alchemy that made the very molecules quake. The solitary words she handled in her upstairs room with keen precision came rumbling out to make the electric lights flicker. 40 members of the audience were treated for hypertension. 20-year-old dark-haired beauties found their heads had turned a Moses white. Her second poem erased the memory of every cell phone in the nightclub, and by the fourth line of the sixth verse, the grandmother in the upstairs apartment had been cured of her rheumatism. The papers reported the power outages. The area hospitals taxed their emergency generators, and sirens were heard to wail through the night. Quietly, she made her way to the exit, walked to the terminal, and rode back to Amherst. She never left her room again, and never read such syllables aloud. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire Rogerman, Pacific Grove High School. Next, we have a video submission from our finalist Martin Garcia of Rancho San Juan High School.
Hello, my name is Martin Garcia, and I'll be reading you the poem called I Am Offering You This Poem by Jimmy Santiago Baca. I am offering you this poem since I have nothing else to give. Keep it like a warm coat when winter comes to cover you, or like a pair of thick socks the cold cannot bite through. I love you. I have nothing else to give, so it is a pot full of yellow corn to warm your belly up in the winter. It is a scarf for your head. It is a scarf for your head to wear around your hair, to tie up around your face. I love you. Keep it, treasure as you would. If you were lost, needing direction in the wilderness, life becomes matters. And in the corner of your drawer, tucked away like a Hagen or away like a cabin or Hagen, and Denise trees. Come knocking, and I will answer. Give you directions, and let you warm yourself by this fire, rust by this fire, and make you feel safe. I love you. It is all I have to give, and all anyone needs to live, and to go on living inside when the world outside no longer cares if you live or die. Remember, I love you. Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. My mic was muted. Please welcome to the stage. Thank you, Martin Garcia of Rancho San Juan High School. Please welcome now to the stage Tani Hong of Soledad School.
Hi, so my second poem is going to be called Object Lesson by Claire Schwartz. You learn to recognize beauty by its frame. In the gilded hall, in the gilded frame, her milky neck extended as she peers over the drawn bath. A target, a study, a lesson, she requires you to be beautiful. You should save her. No matter the price, the collector will take it. His collection makes him good. When he lends the woman's image to the museum where the school children stand before it, anointed with lessons in color and feeling, pay attention. The teacher scolds the fidgeter in the back. Bad. A child whose movements call to her own beauty, a child whose wails insist his mother's the most beautiful of all. Eyes this way, the teacher syrups. All that grows rots. Good little stillnesses, guardians to be. If you are good, one day, an embossed invitation will arrive at the door of the house you own. You will sit next to the collector, light chattering along the chandeliers, your napkin shaped like a swan. To protect your silk, you snap its neck with flourish. The blood, beautiful, reddening your cheeks as you slip into the chair drawn just for you. Sit, the chair says to the patron. Stand, to the guard. The guard shifts on blistered feet. She loves you. She loves you not. The children pluck their daisies bald, discard their little sons in the gutter. Thank you.
Tani Hong, Soledad School. Thank you, Tani. Coming up next, welcome once again back to our stage, Sherry Wu of York School.
And If I Did, What Then? By George Gascoigne. And if I did, what then? Are you aggrieved, therefore? The sea hath fish for every man. And what, would you have more? Thus did my mistress once amaze my mind with doubt, and pop a question for the nouns to beat my brains about. Whereto I thus replied, each fisherman can wish that all the seas at every tide were his alone to fish. And so did I, in vain. But since it may not be, let such fish there as find the gain, and leave the loss for me. And with such luck and loss, I will content myself, till tides of turning time may toss such fishers on the shelf. And when they stick on sand that every man may see, then will I laugh and clap my hands as they do now at me. Thank you.
Sherry Wu of York School. Thank you very much, Sherry. And now for our final competitor of this round, please let's welcome back to the stage Ilana Mendez of Alisal High School.
The contract says we'd like the conversation to be bilingual, by Ada Limon. When you come, bring your brownness so we can be sure to please the funders. Will you check this box? Don't read the one where you're just like us. Born to a greenhouse garden, don't tell us how you picked tomatoes and ate them in the dirt, watching vultures pick apart another bird's bones in the road. Tell us the one about your father stealing hubcaps after a colleague said that's what his kind did. Tell us how he came to the meeting. Do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilana. But Ilana, don't go anywhere because I don't know what it is, but the technical gremlins seem to have decided to get a little funny with us. So, unfortunately, Ilana's video, I don't know if that happened out there for all of you, but it seemed to be frozen. So, we're going to ask Ilana to recite her poem one more time. As they say, three's a charm. So, please, let's give her some love and support. Ilana Mendez.
I just want to make sure everything's okay.
Yes, I think that's better right now.
Okay. The contract says we'd like the conversation to be bilingual, by Ada Limon. When you come, bring your brownness so we can be sure to please the funders. Will you check this box? We're applying for a grant. Do you have any poems that speak to troubled teens? Bilingual is best. Would you like to come to dinner with the patrons and sit patron? Will you tell us the stories that make us uncomfortable but not complicit? Don't read the one where you're just like us. Born to a greenhouse garden, don't tell us how you picked tomatoes and ate them in the dirt, watching vultures pick apart another bird's bones in the road. Tell us the one about your father stealing hubcaps after a colleague said that's what his kind did. Tell us how he came to the meeting wearing a poncho and tried to sell the man his hubcaps back. Don't mention your father was a teacher, spoke English, loved making beer, loved baseball. Tell us again about the poncho, the hubcaps, how he stole them, how he did the thing he was trying to prove he didn't do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilana. Yes, we made it through with no difficulties that time. Thank you very much, Alana, for bearing with us, and thank you out there to our audience for bearing with our technical difficulties. Wonderful job. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our competition rounds, our judged rounds for today. Please put a lot of love in the chat room. Send some likes, send some applauses, send some hearts, send whatever you want. Send a birthday cake in the like if you want. Send some likes. Let the folks know how much you appreciate what they're doing. Please, these wonderful students have worked very hard to get here, and you can see the fruits of their labor. So we're enjoying that. Now, while the judges are going through their scores and while we receive all of their scores and tabulate them, we need a few minutes for that to happen here. So, in the meantime, we've got an interesting segment, a very interesting segment coming up for you. We've got another poet, a spoken word artist, to perform for us who's going to do a really wonderful thing. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's an assistant professor of poetry and social action and composition studies at Cal State University, Monterey Bay. His work has appeared or is forthcoming to appear in Obsidian, Button Poetry, Rust and Moth, Cosmonauts Avenue, The Hellebore, The Lily Review, and others. Now, he's performed in over 30 states, the UK, and was invited by the United States Embassy to guest lecture and perform in Durban, South Africa, as part of the International Poetry Africa Festival. His collection, Divine, 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 will be published in March of 2020. Well, I say it actually was published in March of 2020. And he holds an MFA from Solstice of Pine Manor College and currently serves on the board of directors for the California Humanities. Please, let's welcome to our Poetry Out Loud stage the wonderful, the fantastic, know you're going to love him. Give it up for Daniel B. Summerhill.
First, I just want to say thanks a bunch to the Arts Council of Monterey County for inviting me to take part in this tremendous event. Some of the poems that I heard, first of all, great job to all the runner-ups and the finalists as well. Some of those poems that I heard, actually, I taught this past week in a couple of my classes. So it was a thrill to see some of those, those poems, being read so in such a powerful way by you all. So shout out to all of the, the performers and the readers, and good luck. So I'm gonna read a few poems. The first is called Concerning Fire. I could hardly imagine all this righteous rage going to waste, how our bodies are anti-combustible anyway. Hard to imagine us feeling remorse for fire that our skin has always been glazed in, a kind of clay we have claimed as skin, or kin, a rage we've claimed as kin. Hard to imagine any other way of shedding light on injustice but through brimstone. For heat and equality are both fundamental rights, and right now, I choose to fan this flame that has been brewing for years. George was just the kindle. Sometimes all we need is to weep until our wells run dry, and other times all we have left is fire, and we will burn anyone or anything attempting to put out our flame. Hard to imagine being on the wrong side of all of this smoke. The next poem I'm gonna read is called Sunday in Oakland, and it's about my grandfather, who I miss every day. You ask about the weather outside in an attempt to stretch our visit, and for the next 22 minutes, flaxen leaves smother the ground. The clouds are selfless, and Oakland is golden today like all other days because Oakland measures its weather by the number of Black bodies basking in the sun around Lake Merritt. By now, the most complicated thing you can remember of me is my name and how it forces your tongue to press against the roof of your mouth twice before the tension in your jaw is released. It is your only exercise, routinely. You spend your time in bed until you are not. And then, like a moment at attention, the day is as grand as your body will allow. Oxfords, where the creases excavate themselves into a groove, a pork pie crown, and a shirt that you ironed collar first for your trip to refill your bag of chia seeds and other items your VA doctor recommended, mostly aimed at preserving a body that broke in 43 during the swing of the Allies' fist. Your power chair hoist a flag that isn't red, white, and blue, but is as American as Jim Crow, and you and what's left of the 92nd Infantry clasp onto your buffaloes as if they're the only thing you've claimed as your own. It's Sunday, and if there was a day of the week to sink into yourself, it would have to be the Lord's Day, no matter your position to God. You are no exception to this rule. You sit at the edge of your bed that is also half machine and ask me to turn the TV down before, in a swift motion, you bring your legs to rest on the mattress, their stiff landing, the last I hear from you. And your breathing slows, almost still. Your nasal passages soften as if rehearsing how to leave gently. And I'm reminded how some stars we admire don't exist anymore. How, by the time we praise them, they've already shrapneled into God's palms. The next couple of poems I'm going to do don't require paper because they're all, of course, in the head. The first is called Preservation, and it's for my 4 older sisters and my mother. In the 5th grade, I knew a West African kid named Amadi. His name meant destined to die at birth. Instead of dying, he told me, Les filles noires sont les fleurs qui poussent sans être arrosées. Black women are the only flowers that grow unwatered. Their hair be petal, spine a steel rod like Maya said, in lungs that contain the inhale of inebriated I love yous and hearts that beat like tap dancers, trying to serenade their way into the pearly gates. But did we forget that guardians need protection sometimes, that angels, they be needing prayer too, but we lost our soul somewhere between Coltrane's track 1 and Tubman's Underground Railroad, lost all the marrow in our bones and replaced it with malice. I'm no David, but I'm learning every day what it means to bring hearts to gunfights. Instead of fists to strap brass knuckles to my rib cage so my lungs will feel as brave as my hands do when they're interlocked to pray. This breath be a hedge. I will pray for you. Pray that you stay as gorgeous as you are, as beautiful and as red as roses that grow through the cracks of men for the trauma of 400 years. Because mama, you be crescendo, becoming more resilient every day. 5-foot melody, Tanisha, you be a firefly, the only light in a city where all of the black power seems to be out. Like Lucille, like Zora, your stories break the levees most spend a lifetime building. Your skin be song, melanin chords for the harpist of Botswana, Tiaja. You're a graceful jackhammer artist most people can't interpret or care to either, Natisha. You be agape, storge, Fila. Your smile can haymaker Hulk into banner. Vous ne pas oublier, you are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are precious. Lyrics for the ballad. When they try and call you angry, tell them they mispronounced Asada. Forgot that there isn't enough silicone or silhouette in this world to duplicate your hips or your hinge. Besides, they always claim to picket fence the pearly gates, but always envied the ruby bridges in your smile. Les filles noires sont les fleurs qui poussent sans être arrosées. Black women are the only flowers that grow unwatered. They say you are endangered. They say you've been forgotten. They say it's either hunting or mating season for you. Je voudrais protéger, but you are here, and I will protect you. I will guard your hearts like it's my God-given job to preserve you. And this last piece I'm going to do is one of my favorite poems. It's called Ode to Elijah, and it's for my nephew Elijah, who just had a birthday January 28th. So happy birthday, Elijah. I love you. And this is for you. Uncle, do you want to fight? Uncle, come on. Let's fight. A question my nephew has asked me since he could talk. Must be Kane, Triple H, or The Undertaker influencing him to want to brawl sporadically. I never stopped to think that maybe Elijah had more pinned up emotion than a child should. Maybe he mixed up fireball, quarrel, and reprisal. Maybe Elijah is angry at the universe for its ignorance about him. On January 28th, 1999, circa 9:45 p.m., he was born. A 7-pound, 2-ounce miracle. Elijah came out of the womb ass first, and society has looked at him backwards ever since. The first time I held him, I could feel the weight of his heart and the density of his mind. Elijah has been diagnosed with autism for as long as I can remember. Elijah, you're one of a kind. God handpicked you to be different, carefully crafted each of your neurons to function like fluttering wings of butterflies, symphonic hymns that float too brilliantly to be captured. Elijah, never let them tell you you're sick. You're not crippled or flawed. Your brain is just too complex for them to comprehend. Never let them shackle your thoughts like precious stars imprisoned there. This world has progressed on the spines of those as beautiful as you. A spectrum of artistic genius, Einstein, Jackson, Mozart, Bob Dylan, Warhol, Elijah. They've mistaken artistic for autistic. Misdiagnosed the heaven in your heartbeat. When did poetry cease to be an accepted language? When did my nephew's words become too shiftless, too falsetto to be understood? Mass education marked by marginalization is manipulation. This is for every person that's ever been called retard, special, slow, crippled, crazy, derpy, dumb freaks are feeble-minded, for those naturally rebel firework-framed torsos that have been classified as diseased. Our lust for conformity has left our creativity behind. But nephew, you are new. Your brain has yet to be mapped. You are brilliant. You are masterpiece. You are exuberant. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Never let them Christopher Columbus a mind that God already lives in. May your voice be as free as your ancestors once were. Speak with the courage we've all abandoned. Live big, live gorgeous, live on purpose. And the next time you ask me to fight, I'll say, yeah, Elijah, we'll fight this unappreciative world together. Just you and me, one day at a time. Thanks again.
Daniel Summerhill. Ladies and gentlemen, please send lots of love and likes, send lots of claps, send lots of hearts, send lots of fireworks going off in the chat room, and let them know how you feel. Thank you so much, Daniel. It's such a pleasure to hear your work and to have you here as a part of Poetry Out Loud. Very special to have you. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that time has arrived. We have conferred with our judges. We pulled in all of the scores. We've tabulated, and we now have the results for today's competition. First of all, I'd like to thank all of our young contenders for going through the process, first of all, of Poetry Out Loud, and for making it here today and performing for us. Regardless of where they may place in today's competition, they are all winners. Make no mistake about that. They are all winners. They went through the process, they analyzed, they did the work, and today you got to see the fruits of all that labor. They are all winners, no matter where they place today. Of course, this is a competition, so we have to do that. So let's get to it, shall we? In third place today, please give a big, huge round of applause in the chat room for Claire Rogerman, Pacific Grove High School.
Thank you.
There you are, Claire. Great work, Claire. Really wonderful, wonderful work. Congratulations. You're an inspiration, very much.
Thank you so much.
In second place, coming all the way to you from York School, give it up for Sherry Wu. Sherry Wu, everyone.
Thank you.
Great work, Sherry. Really, your love for American literature shined through, and your work and your performance was just very sweet and wonderful to behold. Your work certainly came through. Thank you for all you put into it. And that leaves us, of course, with our first place winner today. Once again, congratulations to all the students who performed today, our runners-up as well. Let's hear our winner. From Soledad High School, please give it up for Tani Hong. Tani Hong, Soledad High School. Let's see it in the chat room. Put those likes in there. Tani, how you doing?
I'm really shocked right now.
You won. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. Like, really, thank you.
Tani, you did wonderful work. You went through the process. You and I have spoken before, and so I know personally the kind of work that you put into this. So really, congratulations. You earned this today.
Thank you guys so much for this opportunity. Like, thank you guys.
You're welcome, Tani. And ladies and gentlemen, that means Tani is on her way to Sacramento to represent Monterey County against all the other county winners at the California State Legislature, where the state championship competition will be held on the legislature floor, as it has been traditionally since they've been doing it here in California. So we're very excited. She and a chaperone will receive an all-expense-paid trip to Sacramento. Their hotel, their room and board, all of that will be covered. They'll be chaperoned to offices of representatives, and they'll meet legislators, California state politicians, and they'll get to hang out in the room where they actually debate all the laws and where they will be competing. So it's a grand time, and plus, she'll also get to meet all the other county champions from California. So already her whole network is going to be broadening. So thank you very much, Tani. Once again, congratulations to everyone who participated today, all of our runners-up. We love you all madly. Those of you who made video submissions, that is really, really wonderful. You guys took the time to put the work in, and we really do appreciate that. Especially our two video submissions that were kind of their own work. So thank you to those lovely young ladies. I'd like to take a minute now to say thank you. Number one, thank you to all of you out there in virtual land for being here with us today and joining us here on our YouTube live feed. It is a pleasure to know that you all are out there. I'd like to say thanks, though, to some folks who make this event possible, and they make it happen every year, and for that, we are entirely grateful. I'd like to say thank you, of course, to our sponsors, the National Endowment for the Arts, Poetry Foundation, and the California Arts Council. I'd also like to give a special thank you to the Monterey County classroom teachers who got our students here today. They helped, they worked with them through the program. They saw them through from start to finish, and they are fantastic. If there are any heroes in this world today, of which there are many, nurses, firefighters, and others, police officers, but our teachers are some of our greatest heroes. And today, we really want to give a special thank you to Natalie Bernasconi and Alex Stamfer of Rancho San Juan High School. Thank you, ladies. Larry Hagquist of Pacific Grove High School, who's been with us on the Poetry Out Loud journey since the start. I think he was the second person I told about Poetry Out Loud, and before I could finish, he was on board. So thank you, Larry. It is always a pleasure to see your students show up here and to see your face as well. Thank you very much. Jennifer Barry and Nayeli Farias, who is a student representative of York School. Please send them a lot of love and thanks in the chat room. They did wonderful work, as seen today by Sherry and what she presented to you today. Wonderful work. Thank you. Azir Wilson of Soledad High School. I don't know where Soledad would be without Azir and her work. They'd be a far less high school if Azir wasn't there. Her and her students are just marvelous people. She takes these students and she really helps to guide them through, and she treats them with such love and respect and dignity and empathy. It's a joy to watch her work. Very much a pleasure. Thank you, Azir. Ignacio Mendez of Alisal High School is also someone that needs to be recognized for all the wonderful work that he's done with Alisal. Alisal continues to just move forward and do great things for their students. I'm always thrilled to hear about what's happening over there in Salinas. Y'all represent Salinas very, very well, so thank you very much, Ignacio Mendez, and thank you to Alisal High School. And last, but of course never
least, Jessica Asher of Gonzales High School. Thank you, Jessica, for helping us to bring South County into the competition. We love it when you guys show up. We want more from you. My dream, so everybody knows and is clear, and I'm speaking this out to the universe, I've been speaking it out for years, and we're getting there, is to have every high school in the county eligible, as well as, or taking part in the competition, as well as any homeschoolers that want to do it as well. That's my dream. I believe we've got 16 high schools in the county. So with your help out there, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, if you're students, if you're parents, if you're teachers, please talk to your school administrators, talk to your teachers. It's not a hard program to do, and you too can join in the fun here at Poetry Out Loud and possibly help your students win some incredible prizes along the way. I mean, that $20,000 prize in Washington, that is nothing to sneeze at. So we thank all of them, though, all of these wonderful people for all the wonderful work they do, not just for us with Poetry Out Loud, but also in general. All of these teachers exemplify excellence in their field. They go well above and beyond what is asked of them or what is required of them daily, and I have seen some of these teachers do it for years and years, and they do it without demanding anything in return or any thanks. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please, we must support our teachers. These are fine human beings, real fine human beings who are doing things that benefit our community, our world, and our students every day. They're making better people. They're helping to make better people, which in turn helps to make a better world. Also want to give a big shout out to our Poetry Out Loud judges. Where would we be without them? Well, frankly, nowhere, because we couldn't do the competition without them. So please, also in the chat room, please show as much love as you can and go find them on the internet, go look them up. If you can, send them an email, say hello and say thank you. Our judges today, Holly Byers Ochoa, always a pleasure to see you, Holly. Eric Mora, my man, once again, pleasure indeed to have you on board. Susan Breen, where would we be without you and your help? Where would our community be without all the wonderful work you do throughout the year? And of course, Ernesto Altamirano. Ernesto, look him up online and you'll be able to find his website. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to give you the wrong address, but you can look him up, Ernesto, Ernesto, Altamirano, Altamirano. Just Google him and you will pop him up so quick you won't believe it. His website is wonderful, especially, and if you're very much interested in Latinx issues and stories, he brings a special highlight, and he goes all across the board. He talks about politics, he talks about social issues, but he also gets into the entertainment world. How he does it, I don't know. I see these pictures of him backstage and all these incredible events, talking to all these incredible people. How he does it, I have no idea, but he does, and we're all beneficiaries of that. Beneficiaries of all of that. So thank you, Ernesto, for all the great work you do. Of course, have to give it up. Huge shouts out. Man, I've known them for years and years and years and worked with them, and I just cannot say enough about them, and nor will I. I will never shut up saying thank you and talking about the great work that the Arts Council for Monterey County Board and staff do throughout the year, not just with Poetry Out Loud, and you have no idea how grateful I am to you all for your support of Poetry Out Loud since Paulette Lynch, former executive director, first okayed it and said, yeah, let's do it. The Arts Council for Monterey County has been full on board, and we've been growing it every year. As witnessed by this year, we had 6 schools participate. So thank you very much. A big, huge round of applause. A lot of love in the chat room. Lots of chats, lots of hearts, lots of loves and likes, and big thumbs up for the folks at the Arts Council for Monterey County, for their board and staff. Where would we be without them? I'll tell you what, Monterey County would be a far lesser place if they weren't there doing the work that they do throughout the year. They also work with the schools. They've ensured that there are arts in the schools, that our kids have access to artists and working artists and poets. I myself have gone to the schools many times, even just in the last few weeks, to work with students at the behest of the Arts Council. So they do their best, and they do really, really wonderful work. Their best is fantastic, frankly. Also want to say a big thank you to Daniel Summerhill, our poet who performed for you in our special segment while we tabulated our scores. Daniel, it is a thrill to hear from you what you're doing with your students, the work you're doing, and in general, and the work you're doing there at CSUMB. Again, you make Monterey County a much brighter place to be, and your efforts and your support of the students and the community is unquestionable. Thank you very much, Daniel. We very much appreciate that. Also, really want to give a big shout out and a big, huge thank you. Where would we be? We wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here talking to you without the production team. I'm talking about, of course, Kevin Proctor of Proctor and Sound, and Raz Palumbi of Here and Now Studios. My God, where would we be without the two of them? We wouldn't be talking to you right here on the internet. That's where we would be. We'd be somewhere else. But thank God we have them, because they helped us do a great show today. We thank you very much. They're wonderful people. If you're interested in doing this kind of thing, virtual live events, please feel free to look them up on the internet. Go find them, and they'll be more than happy to talk to you and help you in any way they can, I'm sure. We've truly enjoyed working with them, putting together today's performance, today's presentation, and we look forward to working with them again in the future. Of course, visit our YouTube and Facebook channels so you can rewatch and share the event. We do ask you to share the event. Please don't be shy about it. Send it to your relatives, all of our competitors, all of our runners-up. Please send it to your family, your relatives, wherever in the world they may be. Let them see the great work that's happening here, the great work that you all are doing here in Monterey County. Really, it is really wonderful work. Once again, I am just blown away by the talent that we saw today on today's virtual stage. And so I, like many of my colleagues here at Poetry Out Loud and the Arts Council, want as many people as possible to see it. So share it far and wide. Don't be shy about it. To learn more about the Arts Council for Monterey County, you can visit www.arts4mc.org. That's www.arts4mc.org. Go and check them out. If you can, if you are a teacher and a parent, or if you just want to support the arts in general in Monterey County, please consider making a donation. They regularly support not only students with arts in the school, but they support artists, working artists, through the form of sending them into the schools to work in the schools and teach, but they also support them in the forms of grants that they give them to help them continue their work and to help them build their body of work. The Arts Council for Monterey County truly is a magnificent supporter of the arts in all of its various shapes and form in Monterey County, and I, for one, am very, very honored and blessed and grateful to be friends of theirs and to be working with them and to be doing Poetry Out Loud. I will never be able to thank them enough for bringing on Poetry Out Loud to Monterey County. It's a thrilling, thrilling thing that they've done, and I truly appreciate that. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Garland Thompson. I'm your host. I've been your MC. It's been a pleasure to be your chaperone on today's poetic journey with our wonderful students and competitors here in Poetry Out Loud. Once again, congratulations to Tani Hong of Soledad High School, who is on her way to Sacramento to enjoy an all-expenses-paid free trip for her and a chaperone to Sacramento, and she's going to be treated like royalty when she gets up there. I've seen how they treat them up there. I've been to the competition. It's pretty fun. So, Tani, you're in for a great ride. So enjoy it, and remember, no matter what happens at the competition, no matter, you have already won. You are a winner, without a doubt. And that goes for all of your fellow students and competitors, all of you. You're all winners. What I saw today has blown me away and will stay with me for a lifetime. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bid you all adieu. You have yourselves a great Saturday wherever you are. Pick up a poetry book, read some poetry, read a poem to somebody, write one yourself, because you'll be doing yourself a favor, you'll be doing your family a favor, your community a favor, and you'll be doing our nation and world a favor. We love poetry, and we hope you do too. Thanks again. Take care. We'll see you next time.